This is ABC 7 News at 7, your Suncoast News. We're here for you.
Good evening, I'm Haley Wilgus. Alan is off tonight. President Obama is in Orlando today consoling the families of victims from Sunday's mass shooting at an LGBT nightclub and calling for tougher gun laws. This is the president's 10th visit to a community victimized by such a massacre. New video is emerging tonight showing the scenes of horror inside the Pulse nightclub on Sunday morning. President Obama called on federal legislators to impose stricter background checks.
I hope that senators who voted no on background checks after Newtown have a change of heart. And then I hope the House does the right thing and helps end the plague of violence that these weapons of war inflict on so many young lives.
23 people wounded in the attack remain in the hospital, 6 of them in critical condition. And gun sales are spiking in Florida with nearly 10,000 background checks in just the last 3 days alone. Now the city of Sarasota plans to demand a nationwide weapons ban. On Monday, city manager Tom Barwin will ask commissioners to approve a resolution to send to lawmakers. It calls for a ban on military-grade, high-capacity assault weapons.
It's time for the gun industry to take one for the communities in America, and the citizens of America should stop having to take bullets for the gun industry.
Commissioners will consider this initiative at Monday night's meeting. The Manatee County Sheriff's Office is looking to add 8 deputies and 13 civilian positions. A $113 million budget request has been made to pay for the new staff and increase salaries. County commissioners will consider this proposal in August. One of the last stretches of Beachfront Road on Siesta Key is causing a dispute among residents. Sarasota County is now being sued after commissioners agreed to give up control of Beach Road to those who own the adjacent properties. Property owners say they would not develop along the shore. Despite the promise, records show one of the owners has made a request to demolish and rebuild a 3-story residential unit. In Northport, community members are calling for a change to a city ordinance banning people from keeping a boat in their driveway. Right now, you're required to keep vessels next to or behind your home. A petition to change that rule has already garnered 400 signatures. And now for a check on our weather, we go live to ABC 7 Chief Meteorologist Bob Harrigan. He is at McKechnie Field tonight in Bradenton for the Bark in the Park event. Bob.
That's right, Haley. The game is in progress right now. It's a 0-0, and we're in the 3rd inning now, it looks like. And I'll tell you what, there's a lot of fine dogs here. One in particular right here, we have an adopt dog from the Manatee Humane Society. Who do we have here?
This is Lena.
Lena, how are you, Lena?
She's 2 years old.
2 years old?
She's a Terrier Chihuahua mix.
Terrier Chihuahua mix. Lena, how are you? Having a good time, Lena? Yeah, good doggy.
Loving it.
She is, and you can adopt a dog here too tonight. Again, we're in the 3rd inning. This is McKechnie Field. It's Bark in the Park. There's a lot of great dogs here for a wonderful cause, Manatee Humane Society, one of the beneficiaries of tonight's event. And as far as the weather goes, it's cooperating so far.
It's beautiful.
It is beautiful out here. And as far as the forecast goes, things aren't going to change much at all. We are looking at basically some showers moving in from the Gulf of Mexico. However, they've been very spotty, and they haven't been sticking around long at all. And we're looking for just a slight chance for an evening shower or two, but those will push on pretty quickly to the east. We are anticipating a little bit better chance for showers and storms on Friday as some more moisture moves on back in. And for Saturday, the rain chance jumps up to 70% for showers and storms. But we're here live here at McKechnie Field. People walking on by, enjoying the game. How you doing? You having a good time?
Yeah, having a great time.
That's right. Everyone is having a great time here, and so are the dogs. A night that bring in your pup and have a great time and watch a great baseball team. By the way, the Marauders are in 1st place in the Southern Division of the Florida State League, and they're doing quite well. We'll have much more in our forecast coming up after the game tonight. Back to you, Haley.
Hope the Marauders win tonight. Thank you, Bob. Still to come, human trafficking survivors share their stories. We'll show you how teenagers here on the Suncoast are being forced into sexual slavery. That story when we come back.
What does it mean when New South Window says Factory Direct?
It means we have a factory.
It means we eliminate the middleman.
It means you get an award-winning, energy-efficient window at factory direct pricing.
Plus, New South windows are made in Florida.
Ford Florida Homes.
By Florida workers.
Because we know Florida weather.
Bring your measurements this Saturday from 9 to 4 to get huge discounts. New South Window. We manufacture, we install, we guarantee. Call now.
This is a special health alert for seniors suffering with joint pain. If you have Medicare insurance, you may qualify for high-quality support braces at little or no cost.
I'm thrilled with my knee braces.
Now, there is a simple and proven solution for seniors to get out of pain with state-of-the-art support braces.
I barely feel any pain at all.
Braces for your knees and back, as well as your shoulders and ankles, too.
I'm so happy with the quality of these braces.
Call now, and you could qualify for a pain-relieving brace at little or no cost.
I can play ball again, and it doesn't hurt.
And because of my Medicare coverage, it costs me next to nothing.
So call now.
And because I have this red, white, and blue Medicare card, my braces have cost me just about nothing.
It's true. You may get a knee, back, shoulder, and ankle brace at little or no cost.
They qualified me for 2 knee braces and a back brace.
If you have knee or back pain, give them a call. They can help.
1-800-476-8967. 1-800-476-8967.
ABC 7, your Suncoast News. We're here for you weeknights at 5.
27 million people are currently forced into sexual slavery worldwide, according to National Human Trafficking Resource Center. That's more than at any point in time in history. Those numbers include here in the U.S., where Florida ranks among the top 3 states in the nation for sex trafficking. Over the past decade, more than 5,000 people have been victimized in our state. ABC 7's Rebecca Vargas shows us what one local organization is doing to save those victims.
This is the door of hope to dozens of human trafficking and sexual violence victims. And while many have escaped their situation, they're still enslaved.
At 15 years old, Astera Amsalam found herself alone, locked in a room in an unfamiliar house, betrayed by someone she thought she could trust.
I couldn't get out of this room. They put me in a room. I couldn't get out of the room. You know, I haven't even seen sunlight. They would cover the windows and things like that. So I didn't really speak to anybody. I was kind of just like an object.
Astera was the girl next door, attending high school on the Suncoast, a dancer, a beautiful, bright young woman with so much potential, until she met an older boy at a party and developed what she thought was a friendship, but in fact, she would become a victim of sex trafficking.
They brought in drugs and money and cameras and things that I've never experienced that kind of a situation would come to.
For 2 weeks, she was held hostage in that room, her mother calling authorities, frantically searching for her missing daughter.
It was scary. I definitely had moments where I've tried to stop them, and they just crazy. They had guns and told me that they were going to kill me.
It wasn't until she saw a crack in the door and decided to run, still high on the drugs they made her take, and half clothed, she escaped to a nearby gas station and called a friend. Astera's story is all too common to the Sarasota anti-trafficking organization, More to Life.
She thinks she has this older boyfriend, 24, 25, and he's really loving at first. And then the face change, the environment changes, and it becomes violent.
A survivor herself, Dr. Brooke Bello opened More to Life in Sarasota 6 years ago. Her and her team work with 1,500 at-risk youth a year, many of which are trafficking victims, providing mentorship, counseling, schooling, and housing to help free the formerly enslaved of the emotional and psychological bondage that still remains. But freeing them in the mind is not an easy task. Dr. Bello refers to Harriet Tubman's famous words.
She said, "I freed 1,000 slaves. And I could have freed 1,000 more if they only knew they were slaves."
Dr. Bello explains most victims don't identify themselves as victims. Human trafficking is more than just being taken and sold. It's any type of force, fraud, or coercion that a person uses to lure their victims and force them into labor or commercial sexual exploitation, which is changing the tide on how both lawmakers and law enforcement view prostitution.
As a matter of fact, the high propensity of women that are prostituted are or were traffic victims as small girls or sexually violated, predisposed to being bought and sold, predisposed to knowing that and understanding that their body, their not even their whole body, their organs are a commodity.
Local law enforcement has been trained to recognize trafficking on our streets and change the way they police it. Instead of arresting them, officers will give the women a choice to come with them and then connect them with anti-trafficking organizations like More to Life and Selah Freedom.
It's not a victimless crime. It's actually an abuse story. It's an exploitation. It's trafficking. So we're starting to change our shift and paradigm in teaching our law enforcement right down to the officers on the street a whole different way to see this problem and attack it.
In 2015 alone, out of the 15 prostitutes they reached out to, 9 are no longer trapped in the lifestyle.
So at More to Life, we say victim to survivor, survivor to thriver, and thriver to champion.
At 17, now Estera is living proof that you can achieve healing and freedom.
I didn't have goals before. I had no goals. I had no desires of anything that I really wanted to do. And now I have so many. I'm still trying to pick 3 when I have like 50.
Slavery still exists. These words written by a survivor currently in the residential program here at More to Life. Words that are a reality of our society. For ABC 7 News at 7, I'm Rebecca Vargas.
Thank you, Rebecca. And in a moment, we will sit down with More to Life and Sarasota Police on our roundtable. We'll be right back.
We've been slow smoking over oak for more than 45 years. And while sticking to tried and true traditions is kind of our thing, it doesn't hurt to throw something new in the smoker every now and then. Come get some slow smoked chicken wings at Sonny's Barbecue. Order them as an appetizer or as part of a combo with pork, baby back ribs, or both, starting at $10.99. Sonny's Barbecue, local pitmasters since '68.
Attention, this is an important message for anyone who had an IVC filter placed to prevent blood clots from traveling to their heart or lungs. Did your IVC filter move, break, or cause organ damage? The FDA warns that IVC filters may cause serious complications, such as heart or lung damage, internal bleeding, even death. If you or a loved one suffered serious complications, call IVC Filter Helpline now. You may be entitled to compensation. IVC filters are designed to prevent blood clots. If your IVC filter moved or broke and you suffered heart or lung damage, internal bleeding, or if a loved one died as a result, call IVC Filter Helpline today. Our network of experienced attorneys is ready to fight for you. You'll pay nothing unless there's a recovery in your favor. Call today for a free confidential consultation. Don't fight this alone. Call IVC Filter Helpline now.
Please call 800-897-6764. That is 800-897-6764.
Florida Studio Theater presents The Fabulous Lipitones, now held over by popular demand. A high note leaves the Barbershop Quartet without their 4th member just before the national competition. What ensues is a comedy of misunderstanding, stereotypes, and the path to perfect harmony that critics say has laughs galore and gets right to the heart. Buy tickets now by calling 941-366-9000 or visit floridastudiotheater.org.
Joining us now to discuss human trafficking here on the Suncoast is Captain Corinne Stanish of the Criminal Investigation Division at the Sarasota Police Department and Dr. Brooke Bello, founder and CEO of More to Life. Thank you all for being with us.
Thank you for having us.
A tough subject to discuss, but something that we need to discuss because it's a growing problem here in Florida especially. And Brooke, you started More to Life because unfortunately you know firsthand about human trafficking. So can you tell us a little bit about your story?
I think that what some don't understand is that being sexually violated as a child or being raped is definitely 95% of victims of human trafficking, prostituted individuals are. And so it was no different for me. I was really raped at 11 by a friend of my grandfather's. I ran away from home. Straight A student, athlete, was picked up off the street by a trafficker and a bottom girl who I thought was a nice couple, took me out to eat, and then torture began, and I was their property after that.
And how long did it take you to get out?
The uniqueness about trafficking, it's never sort of one time because they trade you around, but the process for me was several years before I discovered who I was again.
Wow. And Captain Stanish, how much have you seen this problem grow here in Florida and right here on the Suncoast?
Well, addressing what Brooke was saying, her story is the backstory that law enforcement never really took into account when we were trying to arrest our way out of the problem with prostitution. So It's like the problem is not only growing, but it's starting to evolve and change, where we're starting to understand the root cause of the problem and change our tactics so that we could start saving lives instead of just re-victimizing the victim.
How did you start to make that change from looking at it as a crime of the person who's involved in the prostitution as more of a victim?
Education through organizations such as Sail of Freedom, More to Life, victims, talking to these women, and just starting to put it together. And law enforcement is certainly not the expert in this arena, in this field, and it took these outside agencies to come in and say, you guys have a human trafficking problem. And at first, law enforcement was initially saying, well, no, we don't. We don't have, you know, people coming in cargo boxes and things. We were thinking that typical, stereotypical human trafficking definition. And once we started realizing what it really was, it's exploitation, it's victimization, and it kind of dawned on us that, yeah, we do have the same problem. It's what we were calling the victimless crime, a vice crime, and it's not.
And Brooke, you mentioned some of the risk factors, but what is the most common thread you see among all of these victims of human trafficking?
Wow, I mean, coming up on Father's Day for us, fatherlessness is at one of the main root causes. That's why traffickers and pimps are able to manipulate girls and young boys. You call them father and daddy for a reason. Men are the biggest buyers for every one individual that's prostituted or sold on a given night. There are 7 to 40 men or couples who will purchase that individual. So it is demand that drives supply. And men are the biggest part of the problem because 95% of the buyers are men, and they will be the biggest part of the solution for sure.
So how do you get in and start to get these women to trust you and come to you for support?
It's almost just like Helen Keller. You know, her teacher, Anne Sullivan, was deaf, was blind. Because of all that, she understood what it took to be restored and to transform. I understand it very well. I have a neck up experience, but also have a neck down experience, so I can speak their language in a way that gives them a safe place to fall, in addition to us having our restorative justice and demand education. So for any individual male that is busted in our county or Manatee County, they have to go through More to Life's 8-hour course. And that is such a restorative justice piece for victims that's incredible.
Definitely. And Captain Stanish, in Rebecca's piece that we saw, it must be very tough for families and parents. Estera's mother trying to frantically search for her. What can parents do to help prevent this and to look for the signs?
I would say that have constant communication and talking with your kids, because it doesn't matter what type of family you come from. I don't care if you're upper middle class, poverty level, it doesn't matter. Anybody could be a victim. The only classification required, right, is to be a human being.
Yeah.
And good, you're in, you could be in. So I think parents need to really have that conversation, and especially knowing that the internet out there, it's unbelievable and sickening how prevalent these websites are, how they're out there recruiting, victimizing, trying to get these kids in for modeling jobs and things like that, parties. You just have to have these ugly conversations with the kids to teach them what's out there and be aware.
Absolutely.
And what do you see as the biggest threat when you meet with these families? You see what kind of started the trend for them getting into this? What did you see as kind of the impetus?
Victims don't know that they don't know that they're victims. 65% of victims come through the foster care system. Over 50% of trafficking happens online. Kids today think that someone on their Facebook or Snapchat is actually their friend, when most of those individuals are there sometimes to lure them away. And so I think fatherlessness, drug addiction, parents that are addicted, mothers who were trafficked or raped never got the help they needed. They can't identify it in the lives of their children. One of the biggest things we work with federal law enforcement is boyfriends, stepfathers, familial sex slavery violating the child, and the mother not recognizing it. Child's like, well, I'll just leave here, because pimps and traffickers look for manipulated kids to violate even more, because they're looking for someone to love.
They're already the most vulnerable.
That's
correct. And then they're violated again.
Right.
So how do you all look for victims? How can you spot someone?
A lot of times, at least from our perspective, One of the easiest ways is when we're doing our stings and operations. That's the given. But with training these officers, we have to get them to recognize the vulnerabilities when they're handling calls and things, for them to look for signs, to look to see if there's abuse situations, because like the numbers you were talking about, these are abuse stories. These are abuse cases that we didn't discover, we weren't able to help, we didn't know about. So the abuse starts in the home, and they're usually running away, trying to fill that void of that father, like you're mentioning.
Yeah.
And these exploiters become the air that these victims breathe, and that's why it's so difficult for them to even identify, self-identify that they're a victim, and to break that cycle. They're so attached to it because they're looking to fill that void.
And why is Florida top on the list for the number of human trafficking victims?
I would say because it is a very tourist. We have our Gulf, the Atlantic, the ports, the tourist areas, convention centers, and it's just a draw.
It's very transient. It's absolutely transient, for sure.
And I also have heard big events like the Super Bowl, other large sporting events, that is something, when we have one of those large events here, that's something that perpetrators will target.
And malls too. Violators, this is what, in the book Pimpology, 48 Laws of the Game, written by a pimp, he says, why burn when you can turn? Some of the girls out on the North Trail that have been violated for years started at 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 being violated. Now they look like addicts walking around lost and broken, so sometimes they're treated as addicts when they were victimized early, and now they're renegading on their own or have pimps that no one has been able to locate. So.
And talk about your program and how it works so well for these women who come in.
I think one really great thing about More to Life is that when the president held his all-day think tank to discuss how we can combat human trafficking, I was the keynote speaker at the White House, along with Polaris Project. We did an all-day think tank. And so for More to Life, we work with about 1,500 youth, high risk and victims every year. We work with adult and women. We have an educational curriculum. We have a residential facility. We have mental behavior health and med management for those that need it. And a lot of really fun activities that cause individuals to be forward thinking about destiny and future and living again.
Well, you're helping give them a future. And ladies, thank you so much for being so passionate about this and helping all of these victims here on the Suncoast and in Florida. And we'll be right back with some comments from our viewers.
Is your mop a dirty, disgusting mess? You need the Hurricane 360 Spin Mop System, the only mop and bucket that spins the dirt away. A system that cleans practically anything and everything with super absorbent microfiber. Dip it in the washer side and the mess releases into the bucket. Then place it in the dryer side and push on the pedal. You get a clean mop pad that's practically dry and ready for more. And your hands will never again touch a dirty, disgusting mop. The heads are washable and reusable. Get the Hurricane 360 Spin Mop System for just 2 payments of $19.99. You'll also get a Sticky Buddy, the reusable sticky roller that picks up pet hair and lint and washes clean in seconds. You can take advantage of our 2-for-1 Pick It Up special and get a second spin mop set. Just pay additional shipping and fee. And we'll upgrade you to free priority handling. So don't wait. Order now.
Call 1-800-394-1524 to get your Hurricane Spin Mop double offer. So hurry and call 1-800-394-1524. Call now.
Whether you're a homeowner looking for a professional installation or a contractor looking for top quality products, Sarasota Glass and Mirror can meet your every need.
For 42 years, Sarasota Glass and Mirror has been the area's premier supplier and installer of quality glass products for your home or business. As an authorized PGT WinGuard dealer, we know how to protect your home with everything from the PGT WinGuard impact-resistant windows and doors to shower enclosures and decorative mirrors. The Sarasota Glass and Mirror team has the knowledge to tackle any project.
Just because someone grows older, does that mean they have to grow apart from their friends or from the things they love to do? With Right at Home, it doesn't. Right at Home's professional team thoughtfully selects caregivers to help with personal care, housekeeping, meals, and most of all, staying engaged in life.
Oh, thank you, thank you.
You're welcome. Are you ready to go?
Oh, I sure am.
We can provide the right care right at home.
I'm Dale Mast, and we're celebrating 40 years on the west coast of Florida.
It's our 40th anniversary, and it's time for a celebration, the Culligan Hydration Celebration.
For a limited time, celebrate by taking $250 off any Culligan home system. That's $250 off Culligan water softener systems, drinking water systems, or whole house water filters. Help us celebrate our 40th anniversary. And remember,
for better water, pure and simple, call today and say,
"Hey, Culligan man."
Welcome back. Florida leads the nation in the number of foreclosures. The rates have leveled off since the recession, but 5,500 homes in Sarasota County alone remain in limbo. Home prices continue to rise in our area with a stagnation in wages. Most home sales are being done with cash by investors. So here's what you had to say. Jan Horton writes, sad situation for too many people, but developers are back in full swing with blessings from the cities and counties. Marie Wood writes, the builders don't care. They build, they sell, people buy. The bubble bursts, more foreclosures, vicious cycle. And Ellen Klein Posa writes, we're renting now thanks to job loss, low wages, and no decent employment opportunities in South County. To tell us your thoughts on tonight's topic, please visit our Facebook page at facebook.com/news@7. That's all the time we have for this evening. Thank you so much for joining us. I'm Haley Wilgus. Have a great night.